Monarchs, and welcome to Economics. Today, I want to go through this really cool process in building wealth. And what makes this difficult is that it's a topic that we all tend to think we know, but if you really think about it, you've never really been taught this. It's never really been a part of any formal educational system. If you look at any of the standards for what we're supposed to teach you over the course of your education in our public school system, this really isn't taught, and so it doesn't get taught in college either. And so what happens is it kind of falls back on, can you learn the topics quickly enough? Can you, by luck, avoid certain pitfalls or make good choices when some bad things happen? Or did you get some training, or some mentorship? And even with me teaching all of this through this year, you're still gonna have to kind of keep working on this. And so you just need to recognize that this is a bit of a blind spot for you, and that you need to commit to keep learning these concepts. And so as you do it, you'll get better, and this stuff will be natural. When you run into some of the emergencies or those decision points, maybe just knowing that, hey, this is a critical decision point, and then seeking outside advice. In your life, you should have multiple wise people who are much further along in life. I'm talking 20, 30 years older than you, who've seen and experienced a lot of the complications of the financial world and can give you good, sound advice. And so you want to make it your goal to find and nurture those relationships. We'll be talking more about mentorships a bit later in the year, but just kind of want to put that in your head. So I humbly submit this process to you. I know there's an emotional element in terms of receiving this, but I hope you can come at this with an open mind. And hey, if something's BS, set it to the side for further evaluation. And then if it's good information, lock it into your brain. Okay, but at least I just ask that you ponder a lot of these concepts. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about the path to wealth. And I call it this because it is a process. Just as you walk along a path from your house to some other part of your backyard, let's say you have a pathway built, you're going from one point to the next, and there's an order in which it happens. And so wealth rarely just happens on its own. And when it does, say like a lottery winning, or there's, a big inheritance, or maybe, yeah, I don't know, you just kind of come into money some way. If you haven't been following these steps, then it's highly likely the money will be quickly lost. And so part of the process of learning how to build wealth over time will also allow you to keep wealth and keep building that wealth. And so I hope you get a lot out of this. All right, here we go. So the path to wealth is a process where things need to be done in order. If you don't do things in order, then it doesn't really work. And so here it is. I'm just going to do a kind of an overview of this. And this path will be the basis for how we do all of our financial, personal finance training that we'll do over the course of this quarter. So here we go. First step is to learn marketable skills. And this is not just get a degree, it's learn things that can earn you money. There are things that you can do that earn money, and there are things that won't earn money. And this is a matter of amassing those skills to be able to earn money. Now, sometimes degrees are needed for certain jobs, certifications are needed for certain jobs. So if you want to do a particular job and a certification is needed, then you need to go get that piece of paper regardless of your skill set. The next thing, and if you've And if you do this, this is going to land a job that pays good money, enough money for you to really live on. You can actually follow this path to wealth, making very low income, but you're going to have to live radically far below normal in terms of your spending. Okay, so once we have a job through these marketable skills, the idea is to really work at it and try to improve yourself. And the idea is that we earn raises, we earn promotions. And the other thing that happens as we work hard and we hustle, then opportunities will start to present themselves. People will see things in us and they'll start to invest in us. And then we have to choose which of those opportunities we want to take or maybe pass on. And so these are difficult decisions, just like learning marketable skills. What type of training do I want to do and which way do I want to go? That can cause a lot of stress. Same thing with opportunities when they fall into your lap. You have to decide, do I want to do this or not? But you can't move forward unless you take those opportunities. All of this involves some risk in life. Okay. So we're working hard, we're working for promotions. The next thing is to set up a budget and spend less than whatever we earn. So by doing that, we'll always have extra every month. An extra amount will always be there because we're spending less than we earn. And this sounds pretty straightforward, but it is very challenging in the society that we live in. Okay, if you're spending less than you earn, you'll have extra. And then the first thing you'll want to do with that extra is you're going to want to build the savings for emergency. And so that's 3 to 6 months of savings, money that goes in the bank. And we don't touch that unless for actual emergencies. Now, if you have a more volatile job, then we need to be in the 6 month range. And if our job is more secure, then we can do the 3 month range. When the economy is worse, we probably need to boost up our savings. Once we've accomplished that 3 to 6 months, and because you're still spending less than you're earning and excess is still rolling in, then we can take all future excess and we can put that into different types of investments, smart investments to build wealth. And usually this involves building wealth slowly over time. And so we'll talk about all these different types of schemes that are out there. And you just need to understand that if it's easy, then there's probably something wrong with that. And we need to analyze that. All right. So let's go a little more deeply in each one of these. Oh, I'm sorry. So the idea here, and I put this big fat arrow here just to remind myself, is that this needs to be a continuous cycle. So the idea is, as you're learning marketable skills, and again, once you have that job and I'm working hard, I'm also wanting to build my skills as I'm working hard. And again, same thing, as I'm spending less than I earn, then I want to keep doing the previous things. So the idea is, as I work the steps, I keep working the steps. All right, so let's go a little deeper into learning marketable skills, and this is where your form, where you're filling it out, you can kind of be looking at this. And so by having marketable skills, you will have something that people are willing to pay for. And so if you look at the graph that I have here, I have 3 circles. This is a compound Venn diagram where the 3 things are being compared and contrasted. So what we want is that sweet spot right in the middle, right where it says hooray. Okay. We want to have skills that something we do well in, and it's something we enjoy doing, and it's something that the market pays for. That's what we need to be investing ourselves in. We don't want to chase things that are miserable to us, so your path is going to look very different than the person right next to you. And so that's why you need to put a lot of thought into this. Very few young people know exactly what they want to do. And so the idea is you're always kind of scanning and keeping your eye open while moving towards the thing you kind of think you want to do. And so that's this opportunities things. Opportunities will sometimes slide you into a thing that you actually enjoy even more. And so you want to have a job that you, for the most part, enjoy. And work, and again, work is hard. Even the best job requires a fair amount of toil. And so just remember that. But hey, when you have marketable skills, then you're going to get paid more, and you're going to be more secure, less likely to lose your job. You'll be able to adapt to changing times. Anytime there's sort of radical change in society, COVID-19 is a great example of this. We're seeing lots of businesses change and redo their whole business plan. And so by having multiple skills, the idea is, hey, what else can I do? Because what I'm doing right now, I can't get paid to do that. But what else do I enjoy doing and that I do well? And what else is in the market that I can get paid? And that's the sweet spot. We're going to be happy and we're making really good money. Okay. When you have lots of skills, you're also more likely to be promoted to higher paying positions. Also, the idea is as you build skills in the jobs that you work for, you're also building skills for possible business of your own later down the road. And I've seen this many times where an employee works for different types of company and they pick up some bits and pieces of ideas. And if you're thinking someday down the road that you want to run the business, then everywhere you work for, you're listening, learning, studying the business that you work for, thinking about what's going on around you, and just constantly asking yourself, if I was in this position, what would I be doing? And if I see the boss making a decision that I don't quite understand, I might actually just say that, hey, I'm thinking about running a business in the future, and I'm just kind of curious why, that you chose this versus that, and sometimes asking those kind of questions can net you an actual mentor who can work you through this. So, makes sense. Go to school, get some degrees, go to vocational school, get some training, go to the military, get some training. There's a million places to go to get training, and we'll be looking at that. And if you look at the very bottom, I have this the things that we're going to do this year. And so we're going to take some quizzes to get you thinking about what it is you want to do, and looking at the different types of training programs. And all I can just say is, when you get to those training programs, you're going to see very quickly people dropping out of every program. Happens in the military, happens in colleges, happens in vocational schools, happens just about everywhere. And all I can just say is it's hard. It's hard to do training. You're putting aside a good chunk of your life. You may see your peers doing other things that are way more fun. And again, it takes time, it takes money. Those are all huge commitments. And then here's the other thing about marketable skills, and this is why it's important to chase things that are in your wheelhouse, meaning you need to be able to do certain things to be able to learn to do certain things. So if you're thinking of being doctor, at some point you're going to have to pass a calculus class, or maybe some other science classes that typically can be really hard courses for a lot of people. So it's important that you match up your skills with the things you already know know how to do. All right. This is 2019. This is a common graph. Every time we have a guest speaker, they usually put something like this in. And what it's showing is the higher the level of your degree, the more money you're going to make. I mean, this is really common sense. And the question is, well, Johnson, why? Why do some people make more than others? Well, it all comes down to the functions, the laws of supply and demand. When there are a lot of demand, when there's a lot of need for a certain type of skill, and there are few people that can do that, then those companies have to pay a higher wage rate. Okay, so if you're looking for a surgeon, there's not a lot of people that have that skill set and those certifications. And so companies are going to have to pay more for that. And so as you push yourself and obtain more and more, now listen, this isn't just college. Let's say, for instance, you want to be an auto service technician, and you can get certifications, an engine, body work, electrical, all that. And so the idea is it's the same concept as this, in the same way that higher levels of degrees of it in college can lead to more pay. More certifications in the vocational world can also get you more money. To equate that to the military, when you join the military, you'll get your base job, whatever the training is for that. But then you'll see opportunities for lots of types of training, again, that the military even pays for. And as you take that training, you're actually earning points towards promotion that can get you higher rank, which can make you more money, which can also set you better up for when you leave the military. This is really fascinating, and this often perplexes a lot of people. But if you take a look at this, you'll see that we have different, and this coincides. I'm sorry, this coincides with this thing here that the more education you have, the more money you make. And so you can see bachelor's degree, associate's degree, high school, so and so, right? So obviously, the higher the education you make, the more you make. But I also want you to see this is we'll call like a trajectory of life, right? So when you're young and let's say you drop out of high school, you say, all right, start working, right? You can make some. And if you just keep working, you're going to start making some raises. And again, if you're living at home, that can seem like a lot of money. Just gets difficult once you move out on your own. You got family, you got bills, and again, that's where your pay just sort of stalls out. Okay. Notice high school degree gives a little bit more opportunity in terms of pay. Same thing with associates. Same thing with bachelor's degree. The idea is even after, let's just go with the bachelor's degree. You go 4 years of college, and then you graduate. And so your first job might not make a lot of money, but over time you'll start to make more and more. And so what happens is you just kind of reach a point where, honestly, and this is kind of an ageism, right? Ageism is discrimination based upon age, right? When you're young, there are certain things, just being a young person, that's kind of held against you, which is going to keep your pay lower. You can be as amazing as everybody else there, but because you're young, you have to kind of work your way into an industry and build your reputation to where you make more money. Okay, it takes time for that to happen. That's why it takes time to get to that top tier. Okay, but then there comes a point, and you can see it for all education levels, there's a decline there. And so what's going on there? Well, if you think of some of the stereotypes around older workers, they tend to be a little bit more stubborn, a little bit less willing to learn new things, harder time with technology, maybe a little bit harder to mentor and things like that, or manage. And so the idea is, generally you're not going to get pay cuts as you get older. But what happens is, if let's say you lose your job at age 50, okay, right, 50, 55, and you're looking for somebody that's going to pay you that same 90,000, and you're like, man, I'm worth 90,000. I've been making 90,000. Yeah, but you're now unemployed, so you might have to take a much lower pay. And so that's what happens, is that's where you see coming into the market, there's lower and lower pay. And so it just depends. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. Also, this coincides with retirement. So the average person, in these ages ranges are retired too. So I just want you to see that there is a trajectory in terms of pay, and it takes time to make that money. And this is where a lot of our college going people, they just say to themselves, hey, once I get out of college, I'll be making fat bucks, and I can borrow as much money as I need and to get through college. And they leave college with a couple $100,000 in student loan, and it's going to take a long time to pay that back, and it's going to make the rest of your life much more difficult. And so you're not going to make big money right out of the gate. It takes a while to build your reputation in an industry to where you can start commanding really good money. All right, moving on. Earning more by working hard and wisely seizing opportunities. And we've talked about a lot of this concept here, that when you make yourself important to the company that you work for, and you work hard to get better, Your skills will increase. It's amazing. By working hard, you actually get better at whatever it is you do. And the better you get, the more likely you'll be promoted and the less likely you'll be laid off. So a two, there's two nice little benefits right off the bat. And again, as you work hard and as you hustle and people see that, then opportunities will start to open up. We're like, hey man, you're really good. We've got this leadership program. Maybe you can do this. And all I can just say is at that point, you got to decide where you want to go. And this can be a very stressful kind of thing. Now, to know how to work hard and work smart and be productive, those are things where you need a mentor, somebody who can invest in you and help you and guide you. And we're going to talk about that, how to find a mentor. And it is one of those things where you need these people helping you and guiding you, and you need to be open to what they have to say. And sometimes what they're going to say, you're not going to want to hear. And so I kind of think of it as the breadcrumb thing. And this is how good mentors work is, every new worker, they'll put a little breadcrumb out there of advice. And then they just kind of sit back and they don't tell them anything. They just kind of sit back and see, is this a wise young person who follows good advice, or is this a person who's kind of pig-headed, thinks they know all better and they can't learn, they don't want to learn from old people, and it's like, just get out of my way, old man, I'll do this. Well, when you take that opportunity and you take that advice and you put it to heart and you go back to that person and you talk to them, you're starting to build a relationship where you're saying, hey, I'm coachable, I'm open, I want to get better. And so and this is actually a very rare thing. And so those people, those are the ones that move up. And you'll see 30-year-olds in charge of 60-year-olds. Why? Because the 60-year-old just wasn't really cut out for that leadership position. So this makes sense. Work hard. But again, when we work hard, we get tired. You're going to see that the harder you work, the more work gets thrown at you, the more responsibility you take on. There's pressure there, and especially when you have people underneath you, their mistakes kind of become your mistakes. And so it's easy to just want to kind of back off. Sometimes there's also like a peer pressure to not work hard, and so it's one of those things. Now, you need to be a go-getter, and you need to stick up for yourself and hustle and go get those things and ask for things, but you don't want to be overly aggressive. Okay, so that's why I have this little graph here. Passivity, assertive people, and aggressive. And again, what you want to do is something called assertiveness. If you can learn this, you will do so much better in life. And so just beware of that. This is something that definitely, some people just have this and they've been taught it. It's just part of their life. And other people, this is a complete blind spot. And I just want you to understand that the way you go about your business with your bosses and your coworkers and all of that can really make a big difference. So for instance, when you're negotiating your opening salary, by being too passive, you lock in lower wages over a lifetime. I mean, think of this, going back to this, think of this as different people who negotiated different starting pays. The passive person, basically takes much lower than what they're worth. And so that lower amount gets compounded over a lifetime, because raises usually are a function or a percentage of what you're already making. So if you start too low, you stay low throughout your whole lifetime. There never really is like a catch-up raise. And so just be careful. This is where assertiveness becomes a really, important thing. Okay, and we'll talk to you about how to quit, how to do internships, how to find a mentor. I mean, these are all things we'll do over the course of this year. And all I can just say is this sounds easy, but it is very challenging. All right. Next thing is spending less than you earn. And, fun story for you to look up is a guy named Ronald Reed. He ended his life with $8 million net worth. And yeah, just as a janitor, he was very determined, spent less than he earned. And then he followed the next step, which we talked about, which is investing. He was very wise in his investing. And he left, legacy to his, family and friends and charities and things like that. And guys, there's nothing wrong with you spending some money and having some fun, and so as you make more money every time you get a raise, that's just more money for you to play with too, because it's not like you're just gonna save every raise that you get. It's like, no, because otherwise we're living in a one bedroom apartment our whole life. And I mean, you can do that if you want to, but hey, if you're making multi-million dollars, then you can spend millions, and so just spend less than you earn. Whatever you're making, you just spend less than you earn. And then you always have excess. Okay. And that's going to allow you to have savings and have investments later down the road. You cannot do savings or investments unless you spend less than you earn. This is the most simplistic but complicated thing for people to wrap their mind around. And part of this goes to this idea that the future is always going to be better. I'm going to be making more in the future. And yes, there's raises, but you got to understand over your lifetime, things get more expensive too as things go on. So if you start borrowing money, and this is the idea of credit, right? And cashing a check and pawn shops and all these kind of things. There's a lot of ways that you can borrow money at interest. We're going to pay that money back plus interest. And that's where you can really start to lose money quickly. It's nuts. And so it's difficult to budget because money comes in spurts, money goes out in spurts. And so it's very hard to sometimes get a vision of what's going on. And the other thing too is this, it's just part of our human nature to want to overspend. We just believe that we're worth it. And so you'll hear the phrase, treat yourself, and, and there's nothing wrong with doing something good for yourself, but you don't want to go into debt to treat yourself, so, because that's where you'll see people that go on this amazing trip and they come back and yeah, we had a great time, but now we owe all this money, but yeah, we had so much fun. And there just comes a point where you just can't keep doing that. And then just life just becomes one pain and stress after another. What we're looking at is something called debt-free living. And the idea is you being in control of your money versus your bills, the people you owe money having control over you. And so this is something you can do. I wouldn't teach this if I didn't believe it. And again, I live this myself. I live debt free, and I don't come in, in a really super nice car, really nice clothes, and a helicopter. It's like, no, I just live my life, and it just works. Okay, and so we'll get into all this stuff, and you can kind of see the things that we're going to do this year. A lot of things, giving, checking accounts, credit cards. Man, there's just so many things for us to go through, and a lot of good stuff. Next thing is saving for emergencies. And the reason this is important is bad things are going to happen that are going to require a lot of money. Problem is, it looks different for different people, so a medical emergency, sickness, car injury, sports injury. There's a lot of things. Your pipes go out in the house, and you just got to fix that. And just these bills just come out of nowhere, and those are emergencies. Things that you didn't really account for, but we know they're going to happen, and so we should set aside money for those things and not pretend like emergencies don't happen to us. They happen to everybody, and so that's why they say about 3 to 6 months. And it depends. The more lopsided your money making is, maybe if you make money seasonally, you might want a bigger move towards the 6 months thing. 3 to 6 months also is about how long it takes to get a new job if you get out of work. And the tough part is if you lose your job in a recession, and we'll talk more about what that is later, but if you lose your job at the same time a lot of other people lose their job, then finding a job will take longer. And so that's where that money comes in to kind of get you by. And so when an emergency happens, we immediately want to divert all money, again, because we always spend less than we earn. So when that next month's paycheck rolls in, we don't put that money towards investment. We put it right into building our 3 to 6 months amount is. Now, every time you get a raise, this amount needs to go up. So if I'm making 2,000 a year, right, and I'm doing a 3 month thing, okay, so I should be putting in 6,000, right? I should have 6,000 of savings. Now, if I get a raise, then I need to have it be much higher. Okay. Having money for emergencies is going to take a lot of stress out of your life. And if you really think about what people stress about, money is a big part of it. And sometimes just having all this frustration of like, I'm trying so hard and the bills keep coming in and this happens. And then I feel like I got it going and then something else comes in. And it's almost like a little kid at the beach. They kind of walk in there and then the wave kind of hits them. Then another wave kind of hits them. And, that's where mom will come in and pull them out. And again, the savings it's kind of like mom. It saves you, So what makes this difficult is that this money is just going to sit there in the bank waiting for the emergency. You're going to want to spend it. And that's, like I said, sounds easy. It's just really hard to not touch that. Okay. And so also some people, they get in a hurry with investing. They want to make money faster. They want to see it grow faster. And it takes time for investments to build. And so in that impatience, that's where some people will start to divert their savings into investments. And then when the emergency happens, now we gotta sell off investments. Well, if the investment price is down, if the value of the investment is down at the time when you just happen to need money, now you've locked in a loss over your investment. You're doing the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. You're actually losing wealth. You're killing your cash. You're killing wealth when you should actually be raising wealth. All right. Learn, earn, spend, save, invest. So this is where everybody kind of perks up. They kind of lean forward, and every year, Johnson, why is this? What about real estate? What about this? What about that? And yeah, there's a lot of get rich quick schemes out there. And if you're a fool, you'll chase one of those and then you'll regret it. You're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to be angry and you'll just, forget, I'll just save. And it's like, yeah, you can save, but your money will never really grow. It's only through investing that the money grows. And so this is where you sometimes see the diversion between like wealthy and people that are just meh, and it's, again, there is risk involved. There's always a chance of losing money, and that's scary. When we see everybody moving in a certain direction, we want to kind of move with that. That's called the herd mentality. And sometimes everybody is right, but sometimes everybody's wrong. And so that's where you have to make your own decisions. If you're easily swayed through peer pressure, investing is going to be very difficult for you. And so definitely you're going to have to work on that. It's funny. A lot of these things involve what's going on inside of you, your emotions, your thought process, and investing is a big part of this. And so, and so we'll look at it, buying houses, stock markets, mutual fund, 401k, wills, all these a lot of things. And I want you to also understand that this is a generational thing, and this is how the wealthy think. It's not I'm born, I hustle, I make money, I spend it all, I die. The wealthy, they sort of say, all right, I'm going to do all of those things, but I'm going to leave something. I'm going to leave a legacy. I'm going to leave an inheritance. And then that makes it easier for the next bunch down the road. So, yeah, you've heard the phrase, it takes money to earn money. And again, that's why we spend less than we earn. By spending less than we earn, we'll have money to save, right? And then again, it's going to take some time to build up that savings. And it's like, Johnson, it's taking like a year. That's okay. You don't need to invest right away. Just build that savings. Okay. Maybe it takes 2 years to get it set. Okay. You got it. And then once your savings is kind of capped off, then it's like, all right, I got my savings for emergencies. Let's start making some real money here. And this is where we need to be very wise about the types of investments we do. Learn, be very careful. And I'm going to show you some very simple ways to invest. The more complex it is, the higher the risk you are incurring. So this is one of those things we got to beware of. And so you're going to lose some here and there, you're going to win some, but over time, if you're doing it right, you're making money. Now, when you're going to see this in your lifetime, it's called the business cycle. In good times, everybody gets greedy. Everybody wants to make money, and you'll see it, like whether it be houses, stock market, gold, whatever, everybody's jumping into it. And if you think about it, by the time you hear about it, this really hot thing, it's probably overpriced. So when you invest, you want to buy something low and then later sell it at a much higher price. That's how you make money. Okay. But because of greed, we often do the opposite. We see the market's really hot, so we jump in just as it's about to drop, you know. And so we buy a house for $400,000 and turn around and sell it for 200,000. Well, you just lost a lot of money. And so what does that mean? Well, you need to be willing to put money down on something that may be dropping in value. Like, dang, this house was worth 300,000, now it's worth 200,000, and man, if I invested it goes down to 100,000, I've lost money. It's like, well, it's dropping in value, so maybe it's a good investment. This is something you would research, after diligent research to see, is this overpriced or not? And so that's where you have to learn whatever you're investing in, and not allow greed to force you to buy high, sell low. And then also on the fear side of it, we don't want dropping prices to force you to sell before you're ready. Okay. Because in your lifetime, you're going to see these ups and downs, and you have to not be afraid and pull out money out of a good investment when it's temporarily down. Again, you've locked in a low price, sell price, and so you've lost money. And so we just got to understand that inside of our heart, inside of our emotions, of the fear and greed, that can wage war against the wisdom needed to make these good decisions. And so that's where good advice becomes really important. All right. So once again, let's take a look here at the whole path to wealth. Let's put it all together. Okay. Learn marketable skills. Earn more by working hard and wisely seizing opportunities. Spend less than you earn. Save for emergencies. And then invest wisely to build wealth. You may not get to investing until maybe 10 years out of whatever schooling you do. It's going to take time to get to that point, and that's okay. It's the long-term game. That's where the wealthy people make money. People that try to do it fast, and you'll see them all over TV. I made money. All those chumps made money slow, and I made it fast. I'll show you how to make money fast. Fat stacks just like me. And again, if you're a fool, go chase that, and you'll learn your lesson. It's going to suck. You'll learn your lesson. And I would just say, if you ever get burned in investments, is like, okay, you made a bad decision. Did you learn the lesson? And so it's again, it's one of those things. You need to really be careful when you're doing this. Okay, but you got to do it if you're going to build wealth. You got to be willing to take those risks too. All right, so that's the path to wealth, and those are the things. This is the stuff we're going to work on over the course of this year. Thank you. Bye bye.